Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Fan Art Friday. In this video I'm working on a drawing of Armin from Attack on Titan. I was really pleased to see that a few of you suggested this in the comments, and I wanted to make sure I worked on it as soon as possible, as I'm always really happy to work on some more Attack on Titan fan art. For the initial outlines of this drawing, I started off with a 0.05mm sepia coloured Copic multiliner pen, and I used this just to get the first layer of outlining, adding some thicker lines to the undersides of Armin's jaw, to the undersides of some parts of the hair, especially around the lower parts of the hair, and just using these dynamic lines to focus the shading of where I'm going to place the shading later on with the colouring. I spent a lot of extra time working on the outlines of this drawing, as that's what I've been trying to practice this year. I've been trying to spend more time on the outlines and trying to improve on that. This time my pen started to run out, and that was a bit of a problem. The line still works the same, it just took a little bit of extra time to get them drawn, so I'll make sure to order a pen for next week's videos. Once I'd added the first layer of outlining, it was time to move on to the colouring, and for the colouring I used Copic markers. I decided to start off by focusing on the skin tones, and for that I started off with a base layer of pinkish white, and then over the top of that, to add a bit of change to the colouring around the outside of the face, I used a pale heath marker. This marker is really nice to use, it's a really nice tone and it works well with the pinkish white, especially when you want to add a little bit of extra, kind of like a little hint of shading around the outside of the face. To add some darker shading to the skin tones, to use underneath the fringe and around the outside of the face, I used a light grape marker. This is really nice to use for the skin tones and it works well with the base layer. To add a bit more colour to the face, especially to the nose and the mouth, I used the blush marker. I used this on the bottom lip and towards the base of the nose, and then I blended them in with the pinkish white and the pale heath markers. For the colouring of Armin's eyes, I used two different types of blue. I started off with a darker tone, and that was night blue, and then for the lower part of the eye I used ice blue. For the pupil I used a black Copic marker to add an outline, and then I used a Prussian blue to add some dark blue to the centre. This is a nice way to not make the pupil completely black and to show up a little bit more colour in the eye. Once all of these details were coloured, I then used a Uniball Signo Broad Pigment Ink white pen to add some white highlights to the eyes, the nose and the mouth, just to show up those areas and to make them stand out in the drawing. With the details of Armin's face coloured, it was time to move on to colouring the hair, and for that I used Buttercup Yellow. I made sure to leave some highlights around the forehead level, and then I added a second layer with the Buttercup Yellow, making sure to show up the textures and the details in the hair, adding some long lines with the marker, trying to show that textured, layered hair effect. To add some darker shading towards the bottom of the hair, and to show up the different levels and layers, and to add some darker shading to the background hair, I used a warm grey number 5. I felt that this really helped with the levelling and the layering effect, and I was really pleased with the effect overall. I think it also really helps to show up Armin's face, so I was really pleased with that. To add a tiny little bit of colour to the highlighted areas in the hair, I used an eggshell marker, and this is a really nice colour, especially working well with the Buttercup Yellow. Then I used the Uniball highlighter pen again to show up the highlights around Armin's head, adding white outlines around all of those areas. And overall this made that part of the drawing really stand out, and this kind of thing really helps with an anime style drawing. After this it was time to move on to the lower half of the drawing. I used the same process for the skin texture on Armin's neck, and added some extra shading underneath the chin with the light grape. For the shading on Armin's shirt I used Cool Grey 3, 5 and 7. I made sure to leave some areas white to really contrast and show up and show the kind of rippled and creased effect in the shirt. For the colouring of the tanned jacket, I used two different markers. I used Brick Beige for the lighter tones, and I used a sand marker to add the darker areas of shading, especially underneath the collar and some of the ridges along the shoulders. For the final touches of this drawing, I used the Uniball highlighter pen to add some highlights going along the shoulders and the collar, and I used a black multiliner pen to add some outlines going around Armin's eyes, face and neck. After that, this drawing was completed. Please let me know what you think of this drawing in the comments below. If you have any more suggestions for future videos, then please let me know in the comments as well. If you enjoy videos like this, then make sure you're subscribed, and any likes or shares on this video are hugely appreciated and it means so much to me. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and follow along with the progress photos throughout the week, then be sure to check out the links in the description box below. And once again, thank you so much for the support on this channel. It means so much to me, and I can't wait to work on some more drawings like this. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you all soon.